Welcome back to the channel. I'm Dwania Peele.
And I'm Brooke Gordon. And this is the unofficial review of the CEO Club on Prime Video.
Now, every episode, we are breaking down the real leadership moments, the tough decisions, and the wins, and some of the misses.
And the lessons every entrepreneur should be paying attention to.
We're not just here for surface level commentary, everyone.
Exactly. We are here for the strategy, the mindset, and that CEO level perspective.
So if you've watched the episode or if you haven't watched it just yet, stay with us because we are about to unpack what really happened. Now, before we get into it, I'd like to ask you a favor. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell as well. And share it with someone because we like building community. Now, let's dive right into the episode, Brooke.
Yes. Oh, more than a name. This one was so interesting. And we're going to get to, as we unpack this, why we think it was called that. But we start off with Lauren again. And you mentioned this last time, and that really became apparent in this episode that Lauren is the through line.
She is. She is. We all started this season thinking it was Serena.
Yeah.
But in more than a name now, Serena used her name to give us more. But hey, we love it.
I really do. I have really come to adore Lauren, and there's so many things that I see in how she holds up the women around her. And we've talked a bit about how location is really important, and that starts to become really evident. So she's got a whole team, and yet this construction of her home and remodeling has been abandoned. And in this episode, we really start to see how she's struggling with her role as the mother of a grown child and a widow, and where she fits into all of that.
Yeah, yeah. And in Lauren's style, she likes to handle things, make sure she puts a period at the end. So she handled everything she needed to do with her contractors and put that period at the end so she can move on to other things that she needs to deal with.
Yeah, and you really see in this episode where she has this sort of attitude, if you will, where it's, if this was just me, like, we'd be done by now. But she isn't. She's trying to engage with her team. And we really start to see her relationship come through with Isabella.
Yeah, yeah. And oh, Isabella. Can we talk about Isabella?
Tell me.
You know, I'm always intrigued when she's on the screen because, just the idea of this model who's also a jewelry designer, who also has young children, and she's very involved in their lives.
Oh, and a fashion designer.
And a fashion designer. Oh my gosh.
Right? Like there's so much that it's, and yeah.
And she is so involved. Like we see her getting her hair and makeup done, and she's helping with homework.
I know. And what I noticed is that she's trained her team so that she can do that. Like they don't, there's no phasing, there's no like repositioning her face. They just keep going with how that is. And I thought that was actually really important, because sometimes we can want to get engaged, but it's not even about that. It's how do we get engaged while those who are supporting us and those around us are also on board with that. And that I thought was actually really lovely.
And it also helps you know the priority. Because the priority is her family. They have to work around it.
Now, this is where it's really interesting, because you and I talked about Winnie in the last episode, and I really feel that, like, here she is with all these things, right? Like, even the list, we're like, oh, and yet she's building momentum, because even though she's got all of these things, she's not starfished. She's spread, but she's moving in one direction. And she says a couple of things that really stood out for me. One of them was, it really comes down to me when she's talking about building the brand. And even though she's got team, she sees her role and how critical her role is. But then she's like, more is more. And there's no time to be
basic. That was my line. I loved it.
Oh, but then she goes on and she says, it's about creating legacies. And I have to keep going to the limit. And so you start to see that the priority for doing all of this work is to create a legacy for her daughters. Mm-hmm. And you really start to see how those pieces are dovetailed and how they build each other up.
And, you know, when you just did that comparison with her and Winnie, I think this is a relationship that I would like to see, because Winnie might be looking to Lauren, but Lauren is at a different stage and a different level in her life. Winnie should be looking to Isabella, because I think they're closer in where she is where Winnie would like to be next. So that is her next step before, like, you know, the 10 steps to get to Lauren. So she would be able to give her more advice that can probably work in the now, where, you know, she's building all these brands, she has the family, and that is really Winnie's next logical step. Yeah. So I would love to see a closer relationship bloom with them, and maybe more conversations with both of them.
And we don't see, they're at the same parties, but we don't see that connection between those two.
Not since episode 2.
Yeah.
Right? Because
or with Hannah.
Yeah. Yeah. With Hannah as well. Yeah.
Really saw that contrast, because Hannah brings it up. And I know we're going to come back to Isabella, but Hannah brings it up here as well. And I love this opening scene where she's like, oh, here, I've got an electrolyte for you. So we start to get a little bit of an insight as to how they keep their energy up. And her mom's like, yeah, it can't have collagen because collagen comes from beef. And I'm thinking, okay, so there's some food pieces there. And immediately I'm like, oh, my mom can't have collagen either, although hers is more of a kidney stone issue. And it's just so interesting, this like relationship with our moms and with food. And I was like, oh, how normal. And then we start learning a little bit more about Hannah's positioning in her family, about how her childhood was really challenging because she really was raised by a single mom because her dad was so busy, and she, even though they'd been divorced, like clearly the relationship stayed with her mom. And her mom says something, 2 things come out of this. Hannah says meeting in person is really important.
Yep.
And then her mom says, if you don't have a test, you don't have a testimony.
Yes. So that is something that's said a lot in Black churches. There is no test. There's no testimony without a test. And, yes. And sidebar, Hannah's apartment is beautiful. I love those pan out shots that they gave us. Holy smokes.
Did you see the roof?
I did.
Glass roof?
I did. Beautiful.
Oh.
Okay. That was my sidebar.
Lauren has a penthouse as well, and Lauren's penthouse is beautifully designed, but this rooftop with the glass, whoo!
This is very New York.
Oh,
very New York. It was so beautiful.
Love it.
But I also love seeing the conversation with Hannah and her mom, because there are a couple of things that helped me understand Hannah a bit better, because she talked about growing up, the pressure of growing up as a Black female Brahmin and being in those spaces where she was the only, and having to learn how to navigate those spaces as a child, and always feeling like she has to overcompensate to prove herself in those spaces as a child. Fast forward to her life now, she has to do the same thing, in where she is this Black woman in this man's world, in a white man's world, if we're being honest, and she still has to prove herself. And she has to try to overcompensate, because in her head is, I can't fail. And this also leads me to the conversation we had a couple episodes ago, where I'm like, she might have access to things, but she doesn't want it because she needs to do this on her own.
And I think there's a couple of pieces in that are really, I saw in the same way. And one of them is as she's talking about the fund and she's talking about the challenge that she has with it, you start to get that feeling that she can't fail. And there's a level in the pitch of it's same way when you make a sale, when you need that sale, the other person knows and they know that they have the leverage.
Yep.
And so I think that's coming through. I get the feeling why that's why she's not why she's struggling necessarily, but you can tell the tone of that comes through. And then the other piece that comes out of that I thought was really interesting is you start to also see how her life experience is really shaping what she's doing. So she starts talking about Ula,
I think is how, I'm not sure how to say it.
And how those events give her the face time she needs. And I found that so interesting. And we talked a little bit before about how Winnie made a decision based on her mission. And we see Hannah, her mission for the venture fund was really influenced by her birthing experiences. And you really start to get why she was there, and her story, her sharing her story so intimately, so profoundly, giving birth to her first child and screaming, "Don't let me be another statistic." You're like, oh my, like I had goosebumps, I got teary, I was like, oh my gosh. And you see how passionate she is about her mission and how she knows, like, this, how lucky am I that I get to live in my purpose. That's been my through line from the beginning. I invest in places I believe in.
Yeah.
And I believe her. I believe her.
I believe her. I feel this episode, we didn't get to see her. We got to see her emotions, but in a different way. And I guess this is where we saw her real why.
Yeah. And I mean, when we compare this to previous episodes, you've heard me talk about how there was almost like this barrier, and I don't get that with Hannah.
Someone's at the one front door.
Oh, sorry. We don't get that with Hannah. We really get this sense that she does have her emotions come through. There is really a sense of we're seeing her in her fullness and who she is off camera and on camera, but she's also an influencer. She's used to having her life on camera. And I think that's part of the difference as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we also, like, switching from Hannah, we go back to Dee.
I do.
I have questions, but go ahead.
Okay. I felt like the more than a name, they really pulled, because you just talked about it, Hannah, right? Really trying to be who she is in almost in spite of who her family is.
Yep.
And then we have Dee, and we've talked about how Dee was building her brand through licensing, and the shoes don't make it. The partner that she picked is not successful with her brand, and she has to just cancel all the orders, and it's a no-go. And she says, I don't see it as a failure. I see it as an opportunity to do something else, something new. It's always in the sales. It's all about the sales. It can make or break a brand.
Yeah.
And so this I found really interesting. So I want to hear, I've got more, but I'm going to turn it over because I want to hear your questions.
I do understand and appreciate the concept of licensing. I think it's fantastic if you have that network, you have a name that's recognizable and a name that's sellable, right? There are a lot of benefits in using your name. Now, I am hesitant on this next venture because, to me, I know you're saying D a Kleppo, but it's still in the Hilfiger realm, and you're doing something that's like what people mainly know the Hilfiger name to be, like, jeans and other clothing. So I I was a little disappointed.
Okay, so it's so funny you say that because, I think of bands, that well-known bands,
Mhm.
and some member of the band goes off to do their own thing because there's a creative difference, and so they leave to go, and they assume that they can just like bring the brand with them, but they are their own person. They are not the brand.
Mhm.
And she is a hill figure, but this is not the hill figure brand. And we see she does have her own unique style. I love that every time we see her, we've seen this before in the episode with the bug. She's always got a jacket like over her shoulder. She doesn't ever put her arms through her jackets.
Yeah.
I love that about her. And so I looked up her brand, and holy cow, it's a lot of denim. Like she talked about it being elegant casual, but still very casual.
Mhm.
And what I could find in Canada, very few places, found it on one area online that had one of her digital stores, and everything was just denim, which isn't my thing. And so I was like, oh, this is so interesting. So where it's gone from where it was in this episode has really traveled down the denim look. I mean, granted, she's partnered with One Jean, so I'm like the One Jean group, so I'm not surprised that it's all jean.
Mhm.
But to your point, it's very different from the hill figure. But is Dee as an individual and as a brand, I had never heard of her until I started watching this show.
Yeah, same, same. And I do like some of the pieces. Like I do love her confessional piece where she's in that jean clip, just like a shirt and the patch pants.
Mm.
I love that look. I love the look that she wore to the showroom
Mm-hmm.
as well. So yes, there are nice things. I'm just, I feel like if I were her, I would have found a different partner for the shoe brand
And kept going with it
and kept going with it.
because they were beautiful designs. But
Yeah,
what we don't know is who owned those designs.
that's true. It probably isn't her. So that's why. And also there's also the homeware, right? Remember she introduced us to the homeware a few episodes ago? I
Yep.
liked that as well. But I don't know.
Doesn't mean it's not going. We just don't hear about it.
Yeah.
The Mrs. H. So it's now her in the hill figure line, right?
Yeah.
I found it really, so Tommy doesn't really play into this. It's really about the relationship with other women. And two things I want to say. I'm going to come back to, I'm just reminding myself I'm going to come back to the music. But one of the things, how many times have you met a woman entrepreneur who believes she can do it all on her own? And in this episode, we find out Isabella has a partner.
Mm-hmm.
We saw that in the last episode with Winnie. Winnie has a partner for Case Cosmetic.
Mm-hmm.
We see a same again with Dee, where she's exposing us to a different business model entirely, where it's all licensing. It's hard for different reasons. And Lauren actually says to her, if it was just you solely doing it, we'd be at the launch party already.
Yeah.
And this really stood out for me because these women are focused in team, like team. They're not on their own. They are well resourced, but they're not on their own. And some of them aren't even just like the figurehead. Some of them, someone else is running the business, and they are literally coming in to be creative or to be the brand, but they're not necessarily doing the work. And I found the glimpse into that, putting my strategy hat on and seeing different business models, that excited me.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if there has ever been a time where Dee did something independent instead of licensing. Because if she has a team that she can build around her, and like Lauren said, if you were doing this on your own, we'd already be at a launch party.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how that would fare as opposed to her licensing.
Yeah, I get that. I also, in this episode, I'm going to come back to Lauren, but we also see Lauren with Isabel.
Mhm.
And first thing, what do you have new? I want to support you. And I found this really interesting because how many times have we said, how do you support your friend, your colleague, someone else in the business? And for some of these women, they have capital. And
Mhm.
so oftentimes you'll see me wearing jewelry of my favorite jewelers because I that's what I want to showcase. And then other times you see that that's not what I'm able to do, but I am able to go to an event. So I love coming to your Amplify Your Voice conference. And how many incredible women have I met from there, or the strategy brunch, because we were in person, and coming out to the event to be there beside you is really important to me. And other times I'm like, okay, I can't make it to this one. Like I wasn't able to make it this year. And you can sure as heck have no doubt it got into every channel that I have access to make sure that other people knew about it. And we see that here. They come to see the new collections. They promote the brand of others. They show up at the launch parties.
Mhm.
They're finding the ways to be present, to show their support in different ways. So Lauren's got the capital, whereas for Winnie, she may not have the capital, but she's going to show up.
Yes, that is true. It really it says a lot in how you show up for your friends, right? Because they notice it. Like Isabel's like, she buys the pieces, but then I don't know if she's buying it just because she wants to support me or she really likes it. And then I see her wearing it. I'm like, oh my gosh, she really likes it.
And that self-doubt sits there again.
Yeah, yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
like she knows she's good, but there's always that little peanut gallery back there.
This little voice that keeps going.
Mhm.
Um, we also see Lauren in this episode really trying to figure out where she fits in. So she talks about, I'm going to sell the boat. It's too much.
Mhm.
I love that they define her era as the golden bachelorette.
Yeah, I love
And
seeing her and Dee together. They are a riot
they
together.
are so much, honestly, they're so much fun. And when we know they know each other from when their kids were younger,
Yeah.
and you really see the length of their relationship come
Mhm.
through. We see how emotional they both are. Like we see Dee crying as Lauren's telling her story, and we see them both openly talking about how much they love each other and the things they're looking forward to. I love that as they're talking, she starts talking about how she wants the quieter life. I did all the things when I had kids. I did all the things we were building the brand.
Mhm.
She talks about her personal philosophy. If I don't know what to do, I will do nothing.
I love that as well. That was my takeaway from this episode. If you don't know what to
Mhm.
do nothing.
Yeah. Just give yourself more time until you know the decision's the right one.
Yeah.
The other one, all I can do is the best I can with it. And I love that I love that Lauren and Dee are like, we have our birthdays coming up. She's like, yeah, 45. We should do that again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it cracked me up because the first time I went through 23 was a bad year. And so I decided to do it again. And the second time around, 23 was so great that I was like, I think I'm going to stay here for a while. And so I had my 23rd birthday 4 times.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so when she was like, and I love that she's chosen 45. 45 was clearly a magical year, and she's going back and she's doing it again.
Whatever makes you happy. Whatever makes you happy.
That brought me joy.
Mhm.
Also, they don't talk about this, but where do these women get the time to work out? Because my goodness, they've got beautiful shoulders. Right?
Look, they work out in the mornings probably. And yeah, I would like for them to show us
And
who their
yet,
trainers are.
right? How do they manage that part? Because when even when I'm thinking about um Isabella and the morning, she's up literally at sunrise
Yeah.
getting her daughters ready to go to school. So she's not working out in the mornings.
Oh my gosh.
Right? And so, yeah, that stood out to me. And then the other one, I love the music in this episode and the focus on the lyrics and the matching to the lyrics. It brought me a lot of joy.
You know what? I didn't really pinpoint. I usually am, bopping to the music, but I'm not usually paying attention to, No, there was a song. No, that was the last episode. Nope.
I had what do you call them? Closed captioning on for the episodes,
Me
the
too.
past 2 episodes, because I've been trying to, like, I want to share a quote, I want to get it correct, and so I had closed captioning on, so that's why I've been able to see the lyrics. This would be a great soundtrack, quite frankly.
Okay.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed that.
Soundtrack to their lives. I mean, I do hope, as you were saying, we are not seeing, the other side. We're seeing all the business conversations. We're not really seeing the life conversations.
Except with
So we
Lauren.
don't know, you know, how do they do their shopping in terms of their styling. I think most of them have stylists bring them their clothes. Great. What do they do for fun? Do they cook meals? We know some of them don't, but still, it just, some of the day to day would be great. And that's also because we're watching a reality show. And personally, I'm nosy and I'd love to know more about your ins and outs of your lives.
I think from a CEO and the business perspective, we see the most with Lauren, but there's a couple pieces, there's a parallel that they draw with Lauren and Isabella that I want to point out. She's on the phone talking about what's happening with the business, and they're going to, is it Thailand they're going to?
No. Yes.
And they are thinking about, it sold out so fast that they're thinking about adding a show in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And then she switches gears from that to talking about one of the houses and selling one of the houses. So clearly her team is her whole, she has one life, one team, and they manage her whole life with her. And you really start to see how the properties fit into the business and the entertainment and all of those pieces. And Lauren says the best use of mine and your time is with people. And that really stood out because Isabella starts talking about how she's trying to slow down her life a little bit so that she can be with her kids. And she says, I want to grow the brand. I'm learning how to be a leader. I'm learning how to be an entrepreneur.
And that is not before she explores the option of getting a second property in Palm Beach, right? Because that was how it kind of starts, where everything is going so great at this location. Let's mirror this in Palm Beach. And then she pulls back and speaks to her business partner. And it's a matter of, my kids need me, my family needs me. And back to the thought process of everything works around me and my family. I am not going to put other things in place that's going to pull us apart.
Yeah, it's this, not this, right?
Yeah.
I've been to that second location. I recognized it.
Really?
And
at Paramount.
When we were there, we were the only people there. So when the realtor is talking about like all this foot traffic, and her business partner is like, yeah, we kind of need to look at the insurance on this space. I'm not sure how secure this is. And I'm thinking there's no one around in this shot, but it could be it's on film. And I'm like, you got to go back. So note to self, if you were ever getting a retail space, go and check out the space at random times because the realtor is going to tell you all kinds of stuff. That moment, there was no foot traffic. When I was there was no foot traffic. Like, you want to think about, like, is this really the right spot? Is there no jeweler there because no jeweler could survive there? Like, these are some of the things that really stood out for me. But you can also tell that her business partner is the business side of the business, because his immediate thing, she's like, oh, and we could have, like, this is where the clients could come in. She's thinking about the client experience, and she's looking at lighting for showcases. And he's like, how would we cope with the insurance on this? And how would we manage security? So he is very embedded in the operations.
And that's good to have that balance.
Yeah.
It does make it perfect business when both parties know exactly what their roles are and they are good at what their roles are.
But we also know from Dee, having a business partner doesn't always go well. True.
Indeed.
There was so many other things. What else stood out for you in this episode?
We talked about the Palm Beach. I think for me, the thing that I enjoyed with this episode was just the relationship with Dee and Lauren. I really liked seeing that because, as much as we talk business, because it is the CEO Club, it's nice to see girlfriends being girlfriends and supporting each other. And
Yeah.
it's kind of the same in our lives. Like, you all don't see it, but before we hit record, we do exchange quite a bit about our lives and support each other with things that are going on in our lives before we jump in and talk business. So that is the natural way that women do business. We are tapped in on our emotions and we do talk about things. It's not like, men will go golfing with each other. One guy will say, I just had a baby. No one has a follow-up question. No one goes, boy or girl. And, we actually,
Congratulations.
yeah, like,
Right.
So yes, I loved seeing the relationship between Lauren and Dee. That was my favorite part.
And so for that reason, actually, this episode I would give a 9 out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah, this one I felt between that piece of Lauren with Isabella, with Hannah being so vulnerable, with seeing Dee together, it really felt like those barriers were less, and that I was actually able to see what these people are like in their truest self. And I really enjoyed how much they were willing to be unscripted on camera, and I appreciated that. I also loved the music in this episode. In fact, it got me wondering, like, I need to go and check the credits. I should have done that before this. So if you know, please drop them in the comments. But it got me thinking, is this actually a woman band, and is there another layer of support here, or was this generated for the episode? So yeah, that got me really thinking on a whole conversation within my own head about bands and music and AI and the layering of support, if that's a thing. So I am going to go look that up. So I'll report back on our next episode.
Okay, and she will report back and she will look it up. Okay. This was great. I do agree with a 9 out of 10. I loved this episode. I really, really did. So tell us, please, what you think the episode is rated. If you watched it, rate it. If you just want to watch the review, rate that too.
And we're sincere. Let us know. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What would you have done differently? What did you see? We've shared some of our insights of us looking at it. What did you see in the conversations and in the scenes?
Yeah. And drop everything in the comments and make sure you do like this video and share it and subscribe to the channel, please, so that you can see more of us here.
And we are reading all those comments because the boardroom conversations don't stop when the camera's cut.
We will see you in the next episode. Bye.